with Nick Shirley about how Minnesota is bogus about this fraud, and he went deep into it. Went to Minnesota and went to different buildings out there, and there's no children, and millions of dollars going to these buildings for these children to be there at these daycares and other places, and nobody's there. No answer, no questions, no nothing. So check this out with me. Like and subscribe. Trying to get 500 or more subscribers.
That's taking place here in Minnesota.
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Who's accountable for this?
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building. Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the U.S. taxpayers' expense. And in this video, we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these child care centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare, and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? So I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe.
Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here, we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate.
How you doing, Bar?
Directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a child care not far from
How you doing, Carlton? Hey there. How you doing? Thanks for joining in.
2 child cares listed at the same address, and together they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
That's
Somali,
crazy.
these groups are setting up these daycares, these child care centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation, and they're still getting money. And it's
definitely insane what's going on in Minnesota, man.
Every year.
Stop voting blue no matter who.
And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people of the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare So you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that
Right.
has 14
Democrats are evil, man.
Somali healthcare
I don't
companies
understand
at
why
the
they so
same
evil.
address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this.
The government knows, they're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota.
This is America. It's happening in Minnesota.
Do something for the community. They're
Thanks
going
for
to
subscribing. Appreciate it.
And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe. And they're afraid of their own shadow. And I don't understand. This is our future generations are going to have to pay for all this fraud. And they just want to bury their heads in the sand and go on and just not worry about it. Tim Walz saying there's organized crime in Minnesota. What did he do about it? Nothing. You got organized crime? What are you doing? This is the Minnesota law, which mandates that anyone who knows of fraud and is a state employee must report that fraud. It's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9. Not only that, but Walz is also guilty of misconduct of a public employee. When I look at the world as a whole and I look at fraud, the Twin Cities is ground zero. The fraud is worse here than anywhere else ever in history, anywhere.
We're going to go confront these people. We're going to go to these daycare centers. We're going to see what's actually happening.
Okay, so we have to be careful because these people are very violent. They're exceptionally violent.
Now, with all of David's evidence, we headed out to the streets of Minneapolis to see how much fraud we could uncover in one afternoon. Where are we going now?
We're going to a place called Mako Child Care, which actually has another child care registered at the same address called Mini Child Care Center.
So we should see lots of children if there's this child care center, especially if there's two.
The two of them combined are licensed for 120.
And how much money have these child care centers received?
None of those vans had moved in 6 months. None of them. In 2020, one of them received $1.3 million. In 2021, they got $987,000. In 2022, they got $714,000. That's the last I have for that one. And then the other one, $1.604 million in fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2024, they got about $800,000, and in fiscal year 2023, they got $904,059. This place right here. Yes.
We're outside of it.
Well, this is actually two daycares are registered here. One of them is Mako, which you see on this sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility as you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in.
No.
And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Try to get in, ring the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. It says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here, right here, has generated millions of dollars, and it seems like business isn't even open right now. It's a weekday. And if this was a daycare center, it wouldn't just be in some industrialized building. There would be maybe like a playground or something outside. Or
there's no play area for the kids. So where are the kids? Where's anybody?
Where are the kids?
Here? And it's like this every single day. I've never seen a single child here. In 9 years, I've never seen a single child at this building. Right there.
Oh, then now it looks like we already got the Somalis coming through.
Yeah, they're coming. The word's out.
Hello, is this your daycare?
No, can you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here. All right, let's go to the next location. And the fraud only gets more from here. Make sure you stay to the very end of this video to see exactly how much fraud we find by the time
It's in Minnesota.
All
this taking place in Minnesota.
I want to show you something super interesting about the flags of Minnesota. And here in Minnesota, if you take a look at the Minnesota state flag, they recently changed it, and it very much so resembles the flag of Somalia. And really quick, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Opus Clip. What used to just be an AI clipper has now become the most powerful AI growth tool for creators. Right now, over 10 million creators and businesses
Yeah, they make you mad.
use Opus Clip to help them gain over 60 billion views. I've used Opus, and I've even had my friends use it.
Come to America and get the money, but don't be on that
Nearly
bullshit.
100
Send it to terrorist
followers,
groups and all that. That's
up to
crazy.
30,000 views. And it's super simple to use. All you do is you upload a video or copy a YouTube link, and Opus will do the rest. It'll come out with tons of viral shorts for you then.
How you doing, Mike? What's up?
And Opus just came out their new AI editor 3.0 that comes with smarter auto framing, better virality scoring, and new captions. And I've said it before, but Opus is so simple that even my mom can use it.
And if I can use it, I know you can use it.
And right now, for you guys watching this video, Opus is going to hook you guys up with a sweet deal. You'll get 1 week free.
Thanks for
and
joining
3
in. I
months at
appreciate it.
50% off.
Happy
All you have to
Monday
do
and
is
good
go
morning.
to the link in the description of
Somalia,
the video.
y'all
Or go to
bogus.
the pinned comment down below.
Minnesota
and
do
use
better.
code Nick Shirley. 1 week free.
Now all
3 months
Somalians
at
bogus. I
50%
know
off.
that.
And
But
now
the ones that's
back
doing
to
the
the video.
crime,
Now
y'all
we're going to
bogus.
the next daycare center. How much money has this one generated?
This one, in fiscal year 2025, $1,042,059. In fiscal year 2024, $1,059,078. And in fiscal year 2023, $727,336.
This next one is literally 1 block away, and this one's also generated nearly $3 million in the past 3 years. Let's see if there's any children. Let's see if any of the buildings are open. Here we go. All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. Let's see if anybody is here. This door is locked.
This facility is licensed for 40 children. 0 children. I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever. The only thing I've ever seen is someone standing outside smoking.
What's crazy about this is that last daycare center is that green building right there. And the other daycare center right now is right here. These buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars. I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door. Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Can I speak to a manager?
Why? Wow.
Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare. And after a few questions, the lady went silent. Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which says it's licensed for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids. And all the facilities are the same way. All of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I try to find a
Thanks
spot
for watching.
my
Thanks for
son
joining
Joey.
in. Like and subscribe.
Knock
Thank
on the
you.
door. I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cause I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, what's there? What's happening?
Well, I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
Yeah. What's happening?
Where are the kids?
Yeah.
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid
Where are the
$1.26
kids?
million in fiscal year 2025. It
Thank you
says
guys
they
for
have a
subscribing.
capacity
Thank
for
you.
74
Appreciate it.
children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
up?
many?
Where they
I
at?
don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well, then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No.
Damn.
Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my
Thank
son
you. Thank
Joey
you for
here.
subscribing. Thank you.
Son Joey.
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
How you know my son?
No. He's a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
What's up? You're
Wow.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
But
No.
you said you're scared of me because of my color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You say you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now,
This is my
they're all
tax
getting
money.
mad because he's showing the paperwork
I don't
of this
know that.
business.
Yeah, that's
being
crazy.
registered
All
as a
this
business,
money being
74 children,
spent
no
and
children,
lost.
one child when the lady opened up the door.
So
But now
where did
they're
this
all
money
getting mad.
go? What was this money spent on? 1.26
Right, they in the office
What
all
was
day
that?
on the internet. They ain't doing
There
shit.
aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking
That's
for
not
the
my
owner
group.
if you're
That's
telling me
not
to
my
talk
group.
to the
I'm
owner?
sorry. I'm not understand what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
No.
Does anybody?
No.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing?
Right, where the kids?
It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
Why he not in school? The little kid.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
I think we're moving on to the next location. Have a good day. As we continue to show the blatant fraud that was taking place here in Minnesota, Somalis started following us around the city. And now we're being followed by the Somalis. This is another daycare center, absolutely no signage, and there's no footprints in the snow of children playing outside. $5 million within the past
5.9 million in 2 years. 5.9 million they received in 2 years. That facility right there.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now.
From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells quality.
Wow,
Learning
where's the
Center
end
outside of their sign.
for learning?
That's how blatant
Wow.
this fraud is here at this daycare.
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They said they spelled learning wrong.
Look at Karen.
How do you have
Shut up,
ice?
Karen.
I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up.
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up. We have ice.
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up.
and getting $4 million
Don't
over
open
the
up. It's ice.
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away.
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away.
Are you in favor of that?
Go away.
You know
You're
what?
not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you.
going
It's
illegally,
ice. Don't open up.
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up.
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are. You don't belong here.
I belong here just like you belong here.
Don't open up. It's ice.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here. This is a child daycare center.
99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding. Do you know where the children are? Were they kidnapped? They run away? Where are the children? This is state of Minnesota. Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah, so who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research investigating the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Yeah, with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's just calling us ICE. We're just trying to put law and order back in the streets of the United States. Get rid of all the fraud. Have you ever seen children at that daycare center right there? Where? Yeah, it's right there. It
He
says
said
the
where?
child. You've never seen daycare.
I haven't seen anybody here.
We're going to educate you on something. So what do you think about this daycare center? They spelled learning wrong. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
99 children.
Have you ever seen any children here?
None. Not at all. None.
This year they got 1.9 million. Last year they got 1.5 million of your tax money for 99 children. We just want to know where are the kids?
Right.
Where are the children?
I don't see it. I've been here since 2017. I haven't seen anybody like
Never
that
seen
here.
a child.
No, not at all.
And so you've never seen a child here for 8 years.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel knowing that this place is receiving $1.9 million?
Disgusting. I mean, what the hell? They stealing the money. That's a federal grant too. That's if they get caught for that's a federal offense.
Thanks for subscribing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And do you think Tim Waltz should go to jail for all the
Name is
fraud that's
Deunta.
enabled here in his state?
That's him doing this? Oh, but heck yeah. He's got to be held accountable for this. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason what's going on here. It's simple. It's nothing there. It's a parking lot.
And look, they even spelled learning wrong on their sign for a place that's supposed to be educating children.
That's crazy. I mean, who runs it? Who supposedly runs it?
Somalians.
Oh my god. Oh, where? Yeah, it's just. I've never seen nobody here at all.
So how long have you been living here?
Since 2017.
You've never seen a single child walk in that building?
No, not at all.
So this
That's
daycare
crazy.
center is literally just a place to traffic money. $1.9 million just this year alone. And this guy's been living here for 8 years and has never seen a single child walk through those doors. There's no windows either. And the only window they do have, the door, is blacked out.
Yep, I see that. I've never seen anybody go in there.
Within just a few hours, we nearly approached $20 million in fraud.
Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the likes. Appreciate it. Happy Monday.
More of the fraud taking place.
This place is called Future Leaders Early Learning Center, and it's licensed for 90 children. And in fiscal year 2025, they received $3.6 million. In fiscal year 2024, they received $3 million. So in 2 years, they got $6.67 million,
Insane.
claiming they have 90 children every day of the week, 5 days a week. So let's find
People
out.
are making just about more money than NBA athletes.
And we don't even know if they're paying taxes, but we don't know where this money is going. Is it going to terrorism? Where is it going? But it's theft, it's fraud. And the reason I'm involved is I wanted to stop. I care about Minnesota. I'm doing this for the people of Minnesota. I don't make a dime off all this time I spent on this. I put my life at risk several times, but I'm determined to see this through and to correct what is wrong, what is evil.
Here at Future Leaders Early Learning Center, this building received over $3 million. Hello, how are you? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son, little Joey here. Is there
Joey.
paperwork? Can I check out the daycare? No. Why can't I check out the daycare?
Hello.
Okay, but if I can I get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Mrs. Scott,
No, I would like your business card, actually.
we'll talk to you later.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No,
No children.
Yeah.
Why are there no children?
two of us coming.
Would my son, little Joey, have friends to play with here? No. No friends for little Joey.
All the blue states got this bullshit going
Have a great
on.
rest of your day. So, little Joey would not be accepted to that daycare. Joey's still looking for daycare. And because little Joey couldn't get into a daycare, we went to an autism center, as they have been popping up everywhere as a rise of autism has occurred here in Minnesota because of the government funds that they're receiving. I tried to check my son Joey into an autism center. We've been going to a lot of these daycare centers. We're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but we thought maybe we could check him in the autism center because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center? Like more than 5? Probably, so you don't really know. What do you guys think about like the fraud that's been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
What news? Are you a news reporter?
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here because there's
So why are you asking us about?
the fraud. Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
This is not a tourist bus. Well, that's our number of bus. So we can't let you guys use.
Okay, thank you. So once again, little Joey, he can't even go to daycare, and now they won't even accept him if he has autism.
And again, no kids. Couldn't tell you how many kids they serve.
After being able to provide no evidence of them actually being an autism center in a place where a child could go, they shut the door and we headed to the next fraudulent daycare center that was just around the corner. We're on to the next location. We're still trying to find little Joey a place to go to get some daycare.
So where we're going now is a place called Super Kids Daycare Center. Interestingly, this daycare center was shut down when it was called Creative Minds Daycare, and it had received $2.45 million this fiscal year, 2025. They had to shut down because there were so many violations, and they went and they just reopened under a new license, and they renamed the center Super Kids Daycare Center, LLC.
So they got shut down, then started another one.
Literally the next day.
Creative Minds Daycare, $2.45 million got sent to the daycare center. We have empty parking lot. We do have a bus here. This is different. We'll see if we see anybody.
I knocked on the door. Absolutely nobody was inside. And once again, no children could be heard anywhere.
So, David, once again, another child daycare center. We have a bus out here. No one's inside. Licensed for over 50 kids. No children anywhere. But yet, millions of dollars every single year.
So the sign says Creative Minds Daycare. They got in so much trouble. They had so many violations that they had to shut down, and they reopened the next day under Super Kids Daycare Center. You see 3801 Portland, 3801 Portland, which is where we are.
So that's fraud right there alone.
Millions and millions of dollars, and again, the kids are missing. Where are the kids?
You'd think if they had the same address, that whoever's inside, we're working at the Capitol here inside of Minnesota, would say, oh, maybe that's a red flag.
They just write the check. Human Services, they got to clean out the whole bunch. They're the ones who enabled this fraud. How can you not look and say, wait a minute, these two are registered at the same address?
On top of all of the child care centers, that's just only a small piece of the fraud. What other fraud are they committing here in Minnesota?
So another major piece of the fraud is the home health care industry. Where we're going now is a building that has 14 Somali-owned home health care companies in the same building.
14 of the same healthcare companies in the one building.
14 home health care companies with different names in the same building.
How bad has Tim Walz managed the budget here inside of Minnesota?
So the last biennium, we had an $18 billion surplus. This biennium, we have a $6 billion deficit. That's a $24 billion swing in one biennium. How in the world can you burn through $24 billion in 2 years? This is how, right here. This is a huge part of it.
And so would you say a lot of that is fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Absolutely. I would say better than 90% of it is absolute outright fraud.
And a large percentage of this fraud is from these healthcare companies that are charging the state millions of dollars while they actually aren't providing anything. In fact, the FBI just did a raid a few days ago on a building similar to the one we are about to enter. Inside of this building, there were 14 of nearly the exact same businesses operating the exact same services.
Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare. Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here. Why can't I get healthcare here? Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security, armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here. Another healthcare company right here. There are.
Thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe.
This building
Thank you.
right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare? No? All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think has been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers, and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that someone mentioned your description. We're in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building. So
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone is fraudulent.
So we're
He's here with some kind of like propaganda.
no, we're just checking.
This is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
Okay. I'm gonna have, if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can have a
That's
Alright,
crazy.
So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this address.
Yeah.
So, as we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Right here you have multicultural home care. And right here it says it's open, but can't even get in. Another Reliance Recovery Center. Mercy and Grace Care, Inc. Right here you have Denden Eritrean Youth Development Association of Minnesota. Another child care center. Welcome to Bright Beginning Center. But what do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
sorry. No comments. Can I please?
Right here, you have Serenity Quality Care. All of these businesses are literally the same type of business, providing the same service in the same building. Another Convenience Home Healthcare, Aid, Inc., and Child Friendly Space. All these companies get money from the government. Why would you have the same company essentially inside of the same building, door to door? Right here, Queenly Home Healthcare. It just does not make sense. If you were trying to operate a business, you'd want to have less competition. But here, they have all of their competition right next door.
We're wondering, because we hear there's lots of fraud taking place here in Minnesota, and we're wondering why is there so many of the same companies inside of this same building?
No, I don't know that.
What do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't have any idea about that fraud. Okay?
Mhm. What do you think about the news articles and what's being spread on the news about the fraud?
Right now, you are doing something wrong.
I'm just asking you.
No, you
about
don't
the
have to
fraud.
ask me, okay? Don't ask me that question again.
Okay. Who
Wow.
can I speak to? Who can I speak to? Okay. As soon as you confront about the fraud, they get angry.
When these people have these home healthcare companies, you're seeing them everywhere inside this building. What kind of fraud are they committing?
So there's false documentation being submitted to the state of Minnesota for services never provided. They're having forms signed in advance for services that were then never rendered. As far as a year or 2 years in advance, they'll have someone sign these forms at one sitting, and then they just file those with the state of Minnesota, and nobody from the state of Minnesota bothers to check that those services were ever provided.
So they're essentially just using people saying that they had these services provided months or even years ago, then filing the paperwork and then receiving money from the government.
Right, and the Somali community is a very closed community, so everybody's in on it, and they don't want to talk, as you can see.
And for this building, I'm going to give an estimate of around $30 million for how much fraud is taking place. That is a very low estimate. However, still a lot of money in fraud. And do you think there is fraud taking place here? Yeah. Do you have any idea what any of these businesses are doing?
I never ask.
And now, with upwards of $100 million in fraud, we headed to one more daycare. And this one gets a little spicy as we get chased out at the very end. And after this, we'll be heading to the state capitol to confront the incompetent government leaders who have enabled this fraud to happen.
And I knew this video was going to be super dangerous to film because of obviously how hostile it is, and as we are exposing legit fraud happening. I did get security for this video, and I was able to do it through the Black Line Guardian. And if you guys want to help fund my security in the future, you can go down to the link down below. They're not paying me to say any of this. They came and decided to help me out for this video. You can go to Black Line Guardian, the link's down below, and click Guardian for Nick, and those funds will directly go to my security and future videos as we are exposing lots of things happening, especially with this fraud. Like I said, they're not sponsoring this video. I'm just giving them a shout out because of how they helped me. So go down the link down below, click Guardian for Nick, and let's keep going. And now we're going to the next location.
Now, this child daycare center, this one's different than all the other ones we've been to. Tell us about this one.
This one is different because, according to the state of Minnesota, this 312 West Lake Street houses not one, not two, but 3 child care centers and is licensed to hold 102 children. And in fiscal year 2025, was paid $2.66 million by the state of Minnesota.
And this is the building right here. So this building alone made $2.6 million. Let's see if anybody's inside. Now we're inside of the building where there's apparently 4 child care centers.
We met this lady and we followed her to the back of the building where the daycare was supposedly at.
So right here we have 2 child daycare centers. We have the Minnesota Child Care Center, and then we also have Nuna. Between the two, $2.66 million. Hello. Hi. Yes. We would like to know.
Well, it says we're trying to figure out 102 children. Is that for this facility?
What is the name, guys?
It's from the state of Minnesota website. It says you have 102 children here in your child care.
Which child care name is all of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where are the children?
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here.
And no kids there. That's crazy. They got a lot of kids.
$2.6 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
Who are you?
My name is Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department?
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello. We'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, we're $2.6 million. We were just curious, where are the children at? Do you know where the children are at? Where are the children at in these daycare centers?
I don't know.
How come these child care centers have no children?
Like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you.
There's $2.6 million inside these businesses that were given by the government, but there's no children to be seen anywhere. People deserve to know where their taxes are going. If these companies, these daycare centers are making upwards of $2.6 million and there's no children.
Thank you guys for joining in with me. Happy
Something
Monday.
fraudulent
Thank
is
you.
happening.
Like and
And
subscribe.
that does not make you racist, Islamophobic. This is just the truth of what's happening here in Minnesota. If there's a bunch of white people doing the same thing, we'd be talking about the same issue. This is just fraud at unprecedented levels here inside Minnesota. It's actually very concerning. Where are the children at inside of these buildings? They're nowhere to be seen. Millions of dollars are being sent into these daycare centers all across Minnesota, and there's not a child to be seen anywhere. Here's another daycare center inside of the same building.
We don't want you to be videotaping anything.
Where is all the money going for if there's no children at these daycare centers?
Sir,
Yes.
I told you, please leave.
Yes, we have a question though. Where is the children at these daycare centers if there's millions of dollars?
Ask the local government.
Oh, we have the paper here. So we're wondering where the money and where the children are at. We have the paper right here. Come here.
Who are you, first of all?
My name's Nick Shirley.
You don't have any permission to record me. Period.
Can we talk
You don't
outside?
have permission to record.
She doesn't have permission to record me.
You cannot stop people on the street and question them.
We can ask
You don't
them,
have any permission.
where
I'll
are the
sue
children?
You. I will sue you. You don't have any permission. We have nothing to do with this. You
Okay.
understand?
Then are there
So
children?
leave. Please leave.
Are there children here?
Please leave.
Please leave.
Where are the children?
What the-
$2.6 million for a daycare
Where are
center.
the kids?
Ask whoever you think is doing that. You don't know what you're talking about. So leave. Leave.
Tell us what's happening here then.
I said leave.
We're wondering what's
We
happening.
are not a child care. We have nothing to do with you. We're common people walking. And
Yes.
you are,
We're not accusing you. We're asking where the children are at.
don't ask me anything.
We're not accusing you. We're asking the daycare centers.
I am not going to answer you.
Where are the children at?
Leave. Leave.
We just want to know where are the children.
Who you are?
My name is Nick Shirley.
Who you are?
Work for
I'm
himself.
Nick Shirley.
Okay, what are you recording?
We're wondering where are the children? $2.66 million for
You're not talking
the Minnesota Child Care Center.
You're not talking to the right person.
Are there children that come here? Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building.
I don't know who you're talking to.
That's just a simple question. Where are the children at? David, they won't even answer. We asked him. Plain and simple. Where are the children? Do children come here?
This is why I've had my life. I've been attacked twice. Once with a knife, and the other time I was jumped last Saturday by 3 Somali men simply for asking questions about what was going on. And they're very, very violent people. They do not like this fraud to be exposed.
After giving this man plenty of opportunities to answer the simple question, where are the children, he called the cops on us, and we headed to the state capitol where they're having a meeting about the fraud to confront the state representatives and people in the government who have enabled and let this fraud happen. Inside of this committee, a Republican representative showed charts showing exactly how this fraud has been committed and who is profiting.
Right. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the likes.
And while the Democrat representatives looked into this, one of them spoke
9,500,
about how this
thank
is
you.
building trust and how this is a nonpartisan issue. So I confronted her after that.
He has some very valid questions to ask about what's going on here in Minnesota. And do you think this fraud
I don't know who
crosses?
you are.
My name is Nick Shirley. Do you think this fraud is Republican or Democrat, or just facts that fraud is happening? Because because that's what I heard you talking about. That
I know what I said is that
because
what we're talking about
we want to build trust, but fraud is fraud. So why should we be enabling fraud to happen here?
No, I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
Sir?
No.
Sir.
Uh-oh.
When are you going to hold Governor Walz accountable? She is a representative for the state of Minnesota. Yes or no?
Excuse me?
Yes. Are you?
If you're going to talk to me like
Are you going
that,
to say to her, I'm a disability advocate?
I heard you, and we've actually
overstimulated.
to testify.
But, ma'am, the facts are the facts that fraud is happening here, and it's not a nonpartisan issue. How come you think fraud has been able to happen so much underneath?
I think if
the
you've been
government here?
listening to our hearings, we've had now 10 hearings on this. And so there's really good data from the people who both work within the administration as well as who, both Democrat and Republicans. I think what you heard today is that the Republicans who control this committee are not actually interested in solving fraud. What they're interested in is telling a story.
This fraud has happened underneath Democrat leader Tim Walz.
There has been Medicaid fraud across the country under Democrats and Republicans. There's fraud within the Trump administration. We have is fraud.
We talking about Minnesota right now.
Private providers have made
Minnesota's fraud.
government a mark. And so every person running government, Democrats or Republicans, are dealing with the issue of how to keep fraudsters out of our public payment. We're also dealing with veterans. We're dealing with consumers. I hope you're looking at that. If you look at United Health, currently is being charged with defrauding Medicare. You know who runs Medicare? President Trump. Medicaid fraud is a 50-state issue. And so, again, it is not a
Right, all this
issue.
money,
They're
millions of
Democrats and
dollars, they ain't gonna
Republicans
check on
are
that.
sitting in
But let us
committee talking about it.
taxpayers
What you did here was the Republican chair
pay $600 or less, whatever. They have on our ass.
the one person in government who can stop
That shit
payment.
crazy,
And I
man.
hope you print that.
Let us miss a payment. They on our ass.
Okay. Well, you saw what happened there.
State of Minnesota that we live in, and these politicians are just walking off thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump. They want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired.
He's tired.
People are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who he doesn't care. How many more people are gonna freaking die? How many more people are gonna go homeless? And how many more people are gonna be trafficked in our freaking system?
Oh, I got more stuff for you.
FBI is turning its attention to fraud here in Minnesota. FBI Director Kash Patel on X today saying FBI personnel and resources have surged to Minnesota to, quote,
thanks for joining in. Can't Stop Smiling 13.
Exploiting
thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you,
Reference
guys.
our future
Blessings to
scheme
you.
where
Happy
multiple
Monday.
defendants stole at least $250 million in government money through sham vendors and shell companies. Patel said the FBI believes, quote, this is just the tip of a very large iceberg.
GOP Majority Whip Tom Emmer is demanding answers from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. This in response to a YouTuber who had posted a video of himself trying to confront employees of a Somalian daycare center in Minnesota that had misspelled signage. The video, which alleges the daycare is fake, says the facility had received $4 million in state funds. This comes as Walz's administration faces allegations of widespread fraud connected to state social services. Boy. So we got to talk about the FBI ramping up their raids and the probe into the massive fraud scandal that is happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, amid the mega viral video by Nick Shirley that exposed the Somali-ran daycares that apparently have misspellings. They have phone numbers that don't work, right? But they receive millions of dollars. But yet, when you show up to put your child in a daycare, for whatever reason, it's not possible, right? It's not possible to use these services that taxpayers are paying for, right? Our federal tax dollars are going towards these Somali businesses that apparently don't actually provide the goods and services that they're advertising. And this has been exposed, again, leading to national outrage that is, again, getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
The Somalian community in Minnesota is so cooked. This like the worst PR any group of people can ever get. This YouTuber called Nick Shirley linked up with another dude who's already been investigating fraud in the Somalian community in Minnesota. And they exposed $100 million in fraud from the Somalian community. They so cooked. This video here went so viral that the president of the United States reacted to this.
There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address.
14.
The government knows about this.
The government knows they're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks.
I don't think this is a political issue. I think this is an issue of some really bad actors ruining for everybody.
Indeed, no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in. No. And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Try to get in, ring the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. It says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. Whoa! Can we speak? I would like to check a child in a daycare. Can I speak to a manager?
Like, if you're running a legitimate business and you have nothing to hide, if somebody comes and wants to register their kids to come to the daycare, I think the least you would have is an application, right? Like, you would have an application. Okay, here, fill this out and bring it back. The fact that there's no application, they're acting.
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here. Because there's
Little Joey.
The fraud. Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
This is not a police force. It's not fair. It's not okay to categorize all Somalians as scammers and fraudsters due to the actions of a few. It's not okay to treat all Somalians poorly due to the actions of a few. But we have the president of the United States responding back and sensationalizing and vilifying all Somalians. That's going to trickle down, right? That's going to have other people now treat Somalians poorly. That's going to have other people now think it's okay to be prejudiced and racist towards Somalians.
And now you have the FBI saying, you know what, we're ramping up our resources. We're ramping up the raids. We're going after the fraud. And who knows, there could be some immigration proceedings, some denaturalization. There could be some consequences for individuals who are participating in these fraud schemes as Democrats continue to panic and to ignore the fact that this scandal is getting worse and worse and worse. Take a look.
And welcome back, everybody. FBI Director Kash Patel responding to a viral video that has raised even more concerns about Minnesota's massive fraud scandal. The video showing misspelled signs, locked doors, empty classrooms even, at a Minneapolis daycare center. Now, the state allegedly has also given the center millions in funding. Connor Hansen, live in New York City with the latest on that for us. Hey, Connor.
Hi, Kevin. Well, for years now, there have been allegations of widespread fraud and investigations in Minnesota, but now there's even more scrutiny following a new video that's gone viral coming from an independent journalist visiting daycare centers in the state that are receiving millions, apparently, in tax dollars with no signs of children there. Take a look.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Now, 23-year-old journalist Nick Shirley visited one business that couldn't even spell its name correctly, with a sign saying Leering Center instead of Learning. Some had blacked out windows, and most had no signs of children there on a weekday. The viral video sparking a strong reaction from Vice President J.D. Vance, who wrote, "Politicians like it because they get power. Welfare cheats like it because they get rich. But it's a zero-sum game, and they're stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans." Earlier this month, Minnesota's assistant U.S. attorney said fraud involving Medicaid services likely reached more than $9 billion.
Fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
FBI Director Kash Patel just posted on X saying that might just be the tip of the iceberg. Despite mounting criticism aimed at him from the White House and others, Governor Tim Walz has blamed Republicans for the lack of a solution.
Nobody in the legislature on the
Tampon Tim
solving this. My God, it would be the worst thing in the world for them if this is solved like we're doing it here early this year, because then what are they going to run on?
And we've reached out to Governor Walz for comment on that video. No response so far. Kash Patel also warning that possible denaturalization and deportation proceedings could come from this.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you have some Somalis who are saying, you know what? The American people who are upset and outraged by their tax dollars being used for fraud, we should actually be thankful. We should be thankful for the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right?
Wow.
This is what we're
The nerve of these people.
First things first, I'm actually so shocked that Trump is attacking us. I think Trump should be thanking us in multiple ways, and I'm going to explain. First things first, I think we are a good example of what the American dream can look like. Like, Somali Americans, and it's making me sad, it's funny, like, I know Somali people are very funny. We're like the class clan who also happens to be valedictorian. Somalis in Minnesota are so successful. I take multiple trips a year to Minnesota, and I leave so inspired. You have Somali-only, like, Somali-owned law firms, Somali-owned pharmacies, Somali-owned everything you can think of, and it's so inspiring to see that what my community could do in just 30 years. Literally, we came to this country not speaking English, not knowing anything. We're Black, Muslim, we're immigrant, and we're able to be that successful. It should be really applauded. Like, I need Trump to stand up and applaud for us because it's shocking. Literally, my friend just moved to Minnesota, and she was telling me how when she gave birth, it was an all Somali staff. Her midwife was Somali. Her doctors were Somali. Her nurses were Somali. Like, that is so beautiful to see, and it should be celebrated, okay? Second of all, Trump, you should be thanking my people for giving a random Midwestern state that much clout and money. Like, I don't think, other than Chicago, I think Minnesota is really popping when it comes to tourism because of Somali Americans like me, okay? So you should be thanking us because Minnesota would have been nothing if Somalis didn't move there. Like, if we're being honest, like, we have made that state pop and we have made it beautiful for the rest of the world. So you should thank us, and if you want, you can donate Minnesota to the great country of Somalia. Like, I think it's a nice trade-off. And last but not least, I'm so happy that people are discovering how funny, witty Somali people are. We're very confident. And although Trump said what he had to say, like, I want him to know, Yanni, like, it didn't even, like, bother. Like, it didn't do anything to our confidence. We've heard everything you've said before. People always make fun of Somalia, da-da-da. But I still think I'm better than everyone. Like, God has made me Somali Muhammad. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm talking about Somali American broski. Like, I'm winning on both sides. But yeah, it's just nice to see that everyone's realizing Somali people are very funny, very confident. And that's never going to change. It has not changed since colonial days, baby boy. And it's not going to change because somebody right now decided to make fun of us. We're actually winning the war, so. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. According to this Somali, she says that we should be thankful. We should be thankful that our tax dollars are being fraudulently used to fund daycares, again, fraudulent businesses, right? Healthcare centers, fraudulent businesses, and all types of other stuff that, is going on in the Somali community, right? Because the Somalis are just so successful with our tax dollars, right? They're so successful with our federal tax dollars, right? They're amazing entrepreneurs. With our federal tax dollars, millions, billions, really, okay? You can't make this stuff up. So, with that being said, the chance of Tim Walz being charged with a federal crime is skyrocketing, according to the betting markets, right? The speculators say, hey, this is getting so deep. This scandal is so crazy that, at least at one point in time, there was a 69% chance Tim Walz will be charged with a federal crime. Now, we're going to see if that actually happens. But the point is that it is getting worse and worse and worse for these Democrats that are running Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is at the point now where somebody should be charged. Again, the FBI is ramping up their probe into the mass Somali fraud scheme, right? So you're going to have more raids that are going to be happening as a result. Okay, they need to happen, right? Somebody needs to go check on the daycare centers and see if there are any kids there, right? Are they actually doing anything? Okay. And in the meantime, the mainstream level media is silent, right? They're completely and totally silent on this issue, right? They don't want to talk about it. For whatever reason, CNN and BS Now are ignoring the $9 billion industrial scale Minnesota fraud claim. Let's read here. Federal prosecutors claim a wide-ranging Minnesota fraud scheme ripped off more than $9 billion in taxpayer dough, but loyal MS Now and CNN viewers haven't heard a thing about it. A review of MS Now and CNN's broadcast since December 18th, when prosecutors claimed the fraud operation was much larger than previously reported, shows it has not been mentioned a single time by either outlet. Both outlets do not have stories or the fraud scheme on their respective websites either. Yeah, so usually if they don't air it on their airways, right, they will put it on their website so that they can say, well, see, we covered it. It's on our website. It's a very short article that's buried deep in our website that you really can't find, that's not on the front page, right? That's what they usually do, okay, in order to cover themselves. They say, hey, well, we're actually covering it. You just didn't see it, okay? But they're not covering it at all. No articles, no news segments. They're not talking about it at all. For comparison, Fox News has covered the topic dozens of times since then, and News Nation has also covered it a handful of times. But there is an argument to be made that this is the biggest domestic story of the past month, and MS Now and CNN have failed their viewers by ignoring it. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson said the sprawling scam ripped off a number of government programs, from Medicaid to housing assistance to pandemic-era programs. Quote, the magnitude cannot be understated, Thompson said. What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's staggering industrial-scale fraud. Yeah, I mean, we saw that in that video by Nick Shirley, right? This is industrial scale, okay? This is off the charts, okay? It should be the number one story in this country, but again, BS Now and CNN don't want to talk about it because it makes Democrats look bad, right? And also on top of that, again, migrants, immigrants, yeah, it doesn't necessarily make them look good either, okay? That's the last thing that they want is to talk about a story like this. This story right here is the worst nightmare for those outlets, okay? It is. And that is why people criticize the mainstream liberal media as biased, right? And liberal because of stuff like this, because of what they choose to cover and what they choose not to cover, okay? Thompson said the scam was so easy that it enticed crooks from other states to come to Minnesota to steal funds. The scheme, the New York Post reported, was pulled off by dozens of people, the vast majority from Minnesota's Somali community. More than 90 people have been charged. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has faced sharp criticism for the scheme happening under his nose. He defended himself last week by saying prosecutors were speculating about the massive scope. To extrapolate what that number is, it is for sensationalism. He added, doesn't really help. Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. What you have here is CNN and MS Now. There's a full-blown blackout on the biggest domestic story in this country, right? But they want to spend time talking about the Kennedy Center. They want to spend time talking about the White House, rebuilding parts of the East Wing or something like that. They want to spend time talking about Trump. They want to spend time talking about racism, hate, and bigotry. Like, for example, and on CNN, Midas Touch commentator Adam Mockler on December 23rd said Republicans were targeting Somalis as well as Haitians, LGBTQ people, and women. Again, the fraud claims were not mentioned. Yeah. Of course they're not going to mention that, right? This propagandist, he's not going to mention that. Midas Touch told him he can't say that. His handlers told him he can't say it. So, that's probably what is happening with CNN and MS Now, right? Their handlers are saying, look, you can't touch this topic, right? You can't talk about this. If you say anything about this, anything about Somalis, just say, well, it's racism, hate, and bigotry. They aren't actually stealing our tax dollars, right? There's no fraud going on. It's just racism and hate, okay? And that's what's wrong with our media. This is why they're losing credibility. This is why CNN is losing viewership, because of stuff like this. They choose not to cover actual news, right? These channels have become Trump derangement 24/7. That's what they become. While you have actual news channels that have decided that, hey, you know what? For journalistic integrity, we have to cover this story and we got to tell it like it is. And it's not a pretty story for the Somali community. It is what it is. And it's not racism, hate, and bigotry to acknowledge the truth, right? The truth is not racism, hate, and bigotry. It's important for the American people to know what our tax dollars are being used for. That is the last thing that Democrats want. And because we're getting actual transparency, they're freaking out. The mainstream liberal media is freaking out. They're all freaking out. And the American people are outraged, okay? They're outraged. But like I said, stories like this are an example of what you get with Democrat governors, what they do with your money. Okay, they claim that they don't have money to give people tax cuts, right? But they got money to give to illegal immigrants, to, the Somali community, to all these people, right? But they can't give you tax cuts, right? They can't lower your taxes. They can't make your life more affordable. They can't do anything for you as a citizen, but they can do everything for everybody else, right? And that's what you're seeing here. And that is why the mainstream liberal media, they don't want to talk about it. CNN, BS now say, hey, you know what? The biggest fraud scheme in probably U.S. history, okay, being done by an immigrant community. We're going to ignore that, right? It makes Democrats look bad, right? It doesn't fit the narrative. Not newsworthy, okay? So we're going to see what happens moving forward, but it's not looking good for these Democrats. It's certainly not looking good for, these Somalis. It's not looking good at all. And we're going to see how long the mainstream liberal media ignores it. But this story is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not going away. Eventually, at some point, they're going to have to acknowledge the truth. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
I was born in a country fought by men better than me. Now we're in exile, time to make history. I'm calling my allies. Is anybody out there? Let me know in the chat that you still care. Exile ain't bad if you're here with me. Liberty loves company. Why do I keep holding on? We believe in right and wrong. It comes down to who you trust. The world needs the world, still needs us. Faith holds the power. Don't give up on this land. So rise up and give us a hand. Exile ain't bad if you're here with me. Liberty loves company. still needs us.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. Hope you guys enjoyed my 90s style sitcom intro. I'm sitting way low today, guys. I got the camera cranked way down so I can sit back and get down low with you. Hello to the chat. Welcome. You guys are live. You've caught me live. You're one of the lucky ones. I actually do this when I'm running behind because there's no time to do an episode, send it to Jose, have him edit it, send it back, and then I upload it. So I just do this live. It's unedited, unscripted, no script, no editor, no nothing. Welcome back, guys. Why am I a little sitting low in my seat? Because the beloved Miss Tenaple and I ran 12 miles today. I ran 12 miles. It's the most I've run in about 10 years. So I'm exhausted. And the brave young journalist Nick Shirley exposes even more fraud in Minnesota across multiple prongs, not just healthcare, not just all their save the kids and feed the kids, but more. Here we go. Watch this. This is good. Taxpayer funded daycare after another. We're there with literally no kids to take care of. Here it is.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I want to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here.
And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which has its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids. And all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I try to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door.
I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Because I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Thanks for staying with me.
Is this your
Appreciate
daycare
it.
center?
Like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. Happy Monday.
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
Oh, us, yeah. What's happening?
Where are the kids?
Yeah.
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website.
Look at that face. He's going, there's never been kids here. We just take taxpayer money. Now, Minnesota's doing a full court press to defend all this fraud. This is Tim Walz, Democrats. Notice, Thomas Massey won't lift a finger on this stuff. He's too busy attacking Trump, trying to get the Democrats to win in 2026. This would be an excellent issue for people who care about children and about fixing fraud. This is Lieutenant Governor Flanagan puts on a hijab and declares Somalis built Minnesota.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota.
Remember what I said when Democrats say I'm incredibly clear? They're lying. They're part of the fabric of Minnesota. Islamic, radicals, and healthcare and childcare fraud is part of the culture of Minnesota. And this is all damage control. She looks like this is like a hostage tape. She's going to start blinking out torture.
I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years.
Okay, friendship. Oh, it goes way back. Way back. Wait, we're going to go to more. Healthcare fraud. This is all healthcare workers from that Nick Shirley kid.
A list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here.
Look at them all.
We want healthcare. Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here. Why can't I get healthcare here? Wait. Warning, you are under video surveillance and no trespassing, security, armed.
Healthcare.
This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare.
Door after door, raking in tax dollars
of different places.
I need to see a doctor.
Healthcare here.
I'm a taxpayer.
Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Health right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know. Sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think has been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally,
it was 78 million. All these people are wearing hijabs. I don't get it. This is I could go on and on, guys. These videos they go on and on. I'm going to show you more. Here we go. More of that great Nick Shirley work on the ground in Minnesota.
How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well,
this is your tax dollars. This is what it means to vote Democrat. When Democrats say Republicans are mean and they care about children and women's health care, this is what they mean. Funneling money to empty storefronts, all locked, so that poor people can't actually get help. And Minnesota Nice keeps voting for this. Minnesota Nice is Minnesota Dumb, by the way, Democrats.
Where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here, we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
Childcare. This
Happy
is
Monday.
Massive.
Because they hide behind children, guys. We've said this for years. It's the children. Let me be totally clear. We're here to help children, feed children, healthcare, but the children never get the services.
Fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a child care not far from here in Minneapolis that has two child cares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever. And I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them.
Now, that's one conspiracy. I want to know why the right isn't running with this story. I'm running with this story now. I'm going to give this as much air as I can. Somali fraud. And Nick Shirley needs our help to get this link around. These guys are doing incredible good work. I think this is a major campaign issue for 2026. And what is right-wing MAGA arguing about? Israel and Epstein files. Israel and Epstein files. Totally off-brand. Here's a legit scandal that is actively happening right now. We have them caught red-handed. We've got them. I think this is more important even than J6. People are going, where's J6? Pam Bondi, arrest the J6. Sorry, this we got them with receipts, evidence, and we just don't have the tactic or strategy to even at all be united around this issue. Somali Daycare Center in Minnesota exposed. There's another one. They're going to talk to another lady here, but there's no children at the daycare centers.
Children here in your child care?
Which child care names?
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website.
She has a sign outside her door called Minnesota Child Care. And she goes, what Minnesota Child Care? The building you're in. It's called Minnesota Child Care. What do you mean?
We're just wondering where the children are.
Right.
Where the children are?
Where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
Where's children? And
My name is Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And which department? That is harassment.
Oh,
that is harassment. What's your name, Nick Shirley? That is harassment. Oh, they've been well cued by all of the Democrats on how to answer this stuff. You're racist.
From ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
Oh,
damn.
Lock it.
Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at?
Where
No
are the
children inside
children?
of this daycare center.
Millions of
And
dollars.
look, this daycare center right here, no children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million.
This is a massive scandal. All in hijabs. They're going to call me racist. They're going to call me Islamophobic. They're going to pay, Qatar is going to pay to cover up all this and fund Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, all these right-wing influencers to go, you know what's important? We got to find out get Pam Bondi redacted 1 million Epstein files, and Israel, we have to go after Israel is the danger. Guys, we're going to lose on tactic. If you don't get your head in the game and quit and lead social media instead of follow it. We have to lead it. And it does cost me money and subscribers, but I'm here to save the country if you'll excuse me. Well, you guys all go clickbait. Go guys. Go Republican Party. This is how you turn a
in tax dollars with no signs of children there. Take a look.
Can I put my son in a daycare here? Can I speak to someone?
No,
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
A 23-year-old journalist Nick Shirley visited one business that couldn't even spell its name correctly with a sign saying Leering Center instead of Learning. Some had blacked out windows and most had no signs of children there on a weekday. The viral video sparking a strong reaction from Vice President J.D. Vance, who wrote, politicians like it because they get power, welfare cheats like it because they get rich, but it's a zero-sum game and they're stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans. Earlier this month, Minnesota's assistant U.S. attorney said fraud involving Medicaid services likely reached more than $9 billion.
Fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
AI Director Kash Patel just posted
Thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. Happy Monday.
The tip of the
Like and subscribe.
Despite mounting criticism aimed at him from the White House and others, Governor Tim Walz has blamed Republicans for the lack of a solution.
Nobody in the legislature on the Republican side is
Tampon Tim.
My God, it would be the worst thing in the world for them if this is solved like we're doing it here early this year, because then what are they going to run on?
we've reached out to Governor Walz for comment on that video. No response so far. Kash Patel also warning that possible denaturalization and deportation proceedings could come from this. Kevin?
Connor Hansen for us in New York. Connor, thank you so much. Let's now bring in Corbin Trent. Congresswoman Ocasio, of course, has his former comms director and former Bernie Sanders campaign strategist, and Mark Bednar, Congressman Kevin McCarthy's former head of comms and former comms director for Sean Duffy. Great to have you both with us. I guess I should probably begin with you, Corbin. Listen, this is one of those situations where there's no easy answer except for the obvious answer. What happens now? And if you're the Democrats, not just in Minnesota, but all over the nation, how problematic might this get?
I mean, I think fraud is fraud, and if you commit fraud against the government or anybody, you go to jail. I think that's what happens next, hopefully, and it seems like that's what's going to be happening next. I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican problem, though. This is a widespread problem of fraud and abuse, and largely it's something that exists in the private sector. You know, the government writes the checks, and then the private sector sort of uses the money in any way they feel comfortable doing, and taxpayers are left with a bill. You look at healthcare, for example. We spent $5.4 trillion last year alone on healthcare. I mean, try finding a YouTuber that can go out and find out how United Healthcare is wasting our money. It's not something that's going to be easy. So I think, this is a case of the system sort of functioning, the fourth estate, which is a YouTuber with a channel out there finding some fraud and bringing it to light. I think that's great. But, this is something that's in the trillions of dollars. We're wasting money in every sector, whether it's housing, healthcare, education. And we got to get, it's got to be taken under control. I think fraud's fraud that needs to be found and dealt with.
I think fraud is actually the right answer. However, Mark, I think there is still a political angle here. And the reason I suggest that is because Tim Walz, the governor of the state of Minnesota, has a responsibility to safeguard the resources of his fellow Minnesotans, to say nothing of the fact that federal money was also involved in this circumstance. And it seems to be that they were also sort of sending money off to, I saw a bunch of donations for ACT, but I mean, who knows if there is a bigger nexus here. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Kevin, the indictment across an array of entities here. First of all, the media for not even remotely pretending to care about this being an issue. Secondly, Governor Walz with his stewardship of the state. But thirdly, and I think most importantly, and with the furthest extension into the future, this really is an indictment against Kamala Harris's political judgment. Vetting somebody for the vice presidency, that's a big job. You need to be really thorough. So did they actually vet Tim Walz's stewardship of the state of Minnesota? What did they find? Or did they not care at all? Should she run for president again? She's going to have to explain to voters, donors, the media about her judgment and why she's incapable of, choosing someone who's not overseeing something as horrible as what's going on right here, right now.
Corbin, I give you credit.
But I mean, this is something though where, from my understanding, Tim Walz tried to stop payments to a lot of these facilities, and then they were sued by the facilities. They went to court, and the court compelled them to pay them. I mean, we're making this into a political football. Like we do every single thing that's happening, and the problem is that this is a system-wide problem. It doesn't matter if it's the Democrats, Republicans, it's corporations, it's private entities that are coming out there that are taking money out of our pockets, taking money out of our grandkids' pockets, and then running off to the bank with it. This is not like a Somali immigrant problem. This is a problem with our system.
Well, I think you could certainly argue, given that this is primarily happening in one community in particular at a fairly large scale, that obviously bears investigating. But I think the broader question becomes, at what point does the buck stop with the governor of the state of Minnesota? And that's what I would ask you, Mark, and then Corbin, you can wrap us up.
Well, that's why, first of all, it's a great reminder why it was so important for President Trump and Vice President Vance to win, lest you have Tim Walz actually number 2 in line for the presidency in office right now. Yeah. But this is why it's really important for Republicans to actually make the argument that they should be able to control and expand their majority. Speaker Johnson, leader Whip Emmer, and congressional investigators, they should do a press event outside of the Leering Center in Minnesota today, not only to nationalize the issue, but also make Democrats have to actually answer for what is going on here, make them answer for what they've been defending all along.
the Leering Center, a reference to the fact that the letter N was missing from the signage out in front of one of these daycare centers, which apparently didn't have any kids in at the time of the video. Corbin, 15 seconds.
I will agree with the FBI director on this. This is the tip of the iceberg. Last year alone, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio went up by 54%. The market was, I think, 25%, so she outperformed by double. This year, in a few months, the president of the United States has more than doubled his net worth. There is absolutely corruption that goes down to the core of our government, that goes down to the core of our private industries, and we need to root it out. What we need are representatives in our government, in our state governments, in our federal government that are willing to do the hard work to piss the people off to get it done.
Right.
And so far, that's what we're lacking.
Somebody's going to have to pay for this, and I don't mean just financially. Somebody has to be prosecuted and arrested and sent off to jail if you've been stealing billions of dollars from the American taxpayer, and it's happening in particular communities, not just in Minnesota, by the way, but also in Ohio and Maine and other places in Washington State. It's going to, absolutely. It's going to bear, I think, a much, much closer examination. We'll see where this all goes. I did read what Cash Patel said earlier.
Government-run healthcare centers instead of private.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. Corbin and Mark, thank you both for your time today. I appreciate that.
Well, there's fresh outrage over allegations of widespread fraud of taxpayer dollars in the state of Minnesota. A viral video appears to expose that alleged fraud at several Somali-operated childcare centers in Minneapolis. And the independent journalist who published that video, which now has over 100 million views, tells Fox News the scam is extensive.
I've known about the fraud taking place for a long time. Minnesotans have been telling me for a long time about the Somali fraud that is taking place, and that's just the tip. When people say it's the tip of the iceberg, it really is, because there's billions of fraud inside of the state of Minnesota right now.
And Garrett Tenney is covering this story from our Midwest Bureau. Garrett, good morning to you.
Yeah, Bill, good morning. This is just the latest example of the kind of widespread fraud that whistleblowers say has been taking place in Minnesota for years. And elected officials from towns around the state all the way to Capitol Hill are demanding investigations now into child care centers like this one. Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis. You can see this child care center that has received millions of dollars in federal tax money over the past 6 years.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe.
Learning right on its sign. And since May 22, this business has been investigated at least 13 times for more than 50 different violations by the Department of Human Services in Minnesota. The business is licensed for 99 kids, but when independent reporter Nick Shirley went by this month, the place appeared completely empty.
There's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. If you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelled the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota.
Shirley went to multiple child care centers and said he found similar setups where businesses that have received piles of taxpayer dollars were either closed or he couldn't see any children present. In response to that video that's now gone viral, Vice President J.D. Vance posted on X, "What's happening in Minnesota is a microcosm of the immigration fraud in our system. Politicians like it because they get power. Welfare cheats like it because they get rich. But it's a zero-sum game, and they are stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans." Senator Ron Johnson says this is now going to be a primary focus for congressional investigators.
So agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is under fire for all of this happening under his watch, but he says he's now taking steps to investigate this fraud further. He claimed it's something they've already been looking into and that they are now setting up guardrails to keep it from happening again. Bill?
And Nick Shirley's video at 110 million views as of this morning. Viral is an understatement there. Safe to say plenty of public interest in this. Garrett Tenney live in Chicago for us this morning. Garrett, thank you. Molly?
Thank you, Bill. Minnesota Republican Congressman
Congressman Tom Emmer is the House Majority Whip, and here to comment on all of this. An incredible story here breaking. As Bill noted, this has gone viral. Nick Shirley's reporting. He got out there and he did, the old-fashioned legwork. He walked the walk, he asked questions, and he revealed some fascinating stuff. And as many people have said, potentially the tip of the iceberg here. I want to get your thoughts on his reporting and what's been exposed here.
Well, great to be with you, Molly. I mean, look, this young journalist, Nick Shirley, goes out there and finds more evidence of fraud in one day than Tim Walz and our Attorney General Keith Ellison have found in 7 years. Why did he find it? Because he looked for it, Molly. While Tim Walz and Keith Ellison have been looking the other way, billions of dollars have been stolen from Minnesota taxpayers. You've got the child care centers that he showed you. There's 80 autism centers that are under investigation. There was a housing stabilization program that was created in 2020. They estimated it was going to run about $2 million a year. Molly, they shut it down in October because it was rife with fraud, and they'd already sucked out over $160 million. The U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota estimates this fraud could actually reach $9 billion before the investigation is all over. And we've got two major issues going on in addition to just the fraud. One, millions of dollars of this fraud has been shipped back to Somalia to a known terrorist, Al-Shabaab. And two, we've got all kinds of whistleblowers.
Tampon Tim is bogus.
Forward. And if what they are saying is real and can be documented, what they're saying is they told Tim Walz about the fraud when it was happening. And he not only ignored them, he retaliated.
Thanks for joining in.
Like
and subscribe. Appreciate it. Happy Monday.
Proven, Tim Walz needs to be held accountable. Everybody in his administration needs to be held accountable. This guy now is scrambling to make it look like he's doing something. 2 weeks ago, he created a position with a guy to investigate fraud. 7 years too late, Timmy. It's time that we find answers to all these questions and hold everybody accountable that has ripped off Minnesota taxpayers and frankly supported terrorists in a foreign country.
A lot of interesting points there. The House Oversight Committee as well looking into this and asking a lot of questions about what's going on in Minnesota. I want to get a little look ahead. So at 2026, some of the difficult challenges that Congress is facing, particularly when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and the expiring subsidies. I want to get your take on this. This is Representative Swalwell, Congressman, on the Democratic side, of course, and get your reaction. Take a listen.
The majority of the House Representatives wants to put these subsidies in place so that Americans can pay less for healthcare. So it's now on the speaker, when we reconvene in just a couple of days, whether he will put this up for a vote.
Yeah, now there are millions of people that supposedly depend on these subsidies. Your thoughts on where this is heading and what Republicans will be doing?
Well, these comments are indicative. They're what the Democrats are trying to do. It's very disingenuous, Molly. These are enhanced premium tax credits. Let's make it clear to your viewers that these are paid directly to health insurance companies, not to the people that need the health insurance, which is the other thing that's important here. These enhanced premium tax credits were created by Democrats during the pandemic under unusual circumstances to expire on December 31st of this year. They only impact 21 million people in this country, while 300 million people are seeing their health insurance premiums run out of control to the extent that they can't afford it. These guys are talking about 21 million people. Eric Swalwell and Democrats do not want to fix this problem.
Thank you for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you.
Issue. I applaud Donald Trump, who is going after the problem. He is going after drug prices, and now he's calling health insurance executives in front of him to talk about why it is over the last 15 years when Democrats and their co-conspirators, the health insurance industry, created the Unaffordable Care Act. Why is it over the last 15 years that health insurers have been making billions of dollars while Americans have less and less access to the great health care that this country has to offer? That's the real problem, and Donald Trump and Republicans are addressing it.
And we shall see how those reforms go. It's going to be a fascinating 2026. Sir, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Congressman Tom Sanders.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily.
By several Minnesota mayors who appeared on Fox News last week. Take a listen.
There's a little nickname for him going around Minnesota. He's the fraud father, and that's exactly what it is. These unfunded mandates, this fraud, and the shrinking government assistance to the cities, it's killing us. It's killing our taxpayers.
This has got to be laid at the feet of the people that are in charge of this state. It's like they got together with Illinois and see who could race to the bottom fastest. Illinois was headed there quicker than us, but it's like Minnesota said, hold our beer and watch what we can do. That's the feeling I get out of this. Like it's a race to the bottom.
Just hours after Shirley's video began to go viral, Director Patel chimed in, writing on X in part, quote, "The FBI is aware of recent social media reports in Minnesota. However, even before the public conversation escalated online, the FBI had surged personnel to investigate resources to Minnesota to dismantle large-scale fraud schemes exploiting federal programs. We will continue to follow the money and protect children, and this investigation very much remains ongoing. Furthermore, many are also being referred to immigration officials for possible further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where eligible." Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Governor Walz responded to the criticism in a statement to Fox News, telling them, quote, "The governor has worked for years to crack down on fraud and asked the state legislature for more authority to take aggressive action. He has strengthened oversight, including launching investigations into specific facilities, one of which was already closed." The new allegations come amid a major fraud investigation into the abuse of COVID-era funding for social services. Dozens have been arrested in that investigation, many of whom are of Somali descent.
So I watched this YouTube video by Nick Shirley. It's very impressive. He goes to multiple of these daycare centers that received state funding, and they're not operating. There's no children enrolled in them, that as far as he can tell. The people he interacts with who work there are very evasive as soon as they realize what's going on. They're like, oh wait, we don't know anything. Look, I certainly want to see further verification from other journalists, left, right, and center. Let's let everyone have a crack at this to make sure the story is being presented to us accurately. So I want to withhold a little bit of judgment, but it looks real bad, really devastating. Misspelling on the sign is not a good thing. No children, and he proceeds like, "I would like to enroll my child. How do I do that?" And everyone's like, "What?"
They didn't have an answer for us.
There's no children.
Look, I didn't like the Leering Center sign either, with no N for learning. So I thought that was ridiculous for a learning center, whether it was active or inactive. That's not appropriate.
It's like the Derek Zoolander Center for kids who cannot read.
Yes, exactly.
How are they to learn how to read if they cannot even fit inside the building? Crazy.
Okay, so I don't think that, I think, like you said, we have to proceed with caution because while I appreciate a YouTuber and somebody who's a self-proclaimed journalist, or whether he studied journalism or however, it doesn't make you the good journalist.
I don't care whether
the active reporting and the active being in the field and vetting of sources and making sure that he pursues some of these daycare centers or entities and ties them directly to the funds that he's saying they
Stop
have.
hating on him.
I'd like to see all that information, and if he presents that fully in future docuseries that he has on his site,
he's doing the work no one else would do.
He should, and people should follow up. Now that they have the ball in hand, they can go ahead and shoot it, and New York Times take it away, right? Yeah. I'd love to see that. But two things can be true, like Somali immigrants and other people in Minnesota could have done egregious crimes that they need to be held accountable for. And at the same time, there are people yelling to say that the administration is using this fraud scheme opportunity to pinpoint out and isolate all Somali migrants, which is not right. Those two thoughts stand firmly in my head as both accurate. I think that when we talk about how the Minnesota governor has responded, whilst he's saying that in 2022, when he responded to Feeding Our Future, that he had a request from a judge saying that the FBI is in the middle of this investigation already and for him to stay back and that they have it under control. So he couldn't really act after 2022 in that regard with Feeding Our Future. But he's saying prior to that, the federal government is the one that eased the restrictions around pandemic
right.
Things that people can take on when your businesses that are abusing the system. And it wasn't states that decided to make this so lenient to get this money and access this money. And he's like, and there was a lot going on at that time. So I take responsibility. He said, quote, he takes responsibility for anything that he needs to take responsibility for, but he wants to say that guardrails, quote, were taken off by the federal government during the pandemic. And so that made it kind of a free-for-all for a lot of people, not just in Minnesota. But he also put forward a new program, and we have to give hats off to him. If he's seeing something happening, if he's seeing the FBI get involved, and knowing that we're post-pandemic by 3 years, like when we're out of it and out of the fray of it, he's doing something. On December 12th, he put a new fraud prevention program forward, led by an FBI agent, and they're really looking into every single one of these things that have been brought forward. So why are we criticizing him for doing something? It's maybe too little too late, but everyone is there, and we all agree that anybody who committed fraud should go to jail. We appreciate any YouTuber,
if possible,
or be deported if they're committing a crime and they're a legal immigrant. I think most people agree that if you're committing a crime outside of coming to the country, you should probably get out of the country.
So I agree with you on your earlier point that I don't want to stigmatize an entire community. Anyone who broke the law should be prosecuted, should be forced to get
the ones that did it, get them right
out of the country if that's applicable.
But Minnesota's not no staple of Minnesota either.
Racism is bad. You can't just blame everyone because they happen to have a resembling skin color of people who committed crimes. No issue there. On the Tim Walz stuff, I'm very much less sold. I think
he responded.
I think even if the federal government releasing guardrails was bad. All this COVID era spending was bad. I opposed all this grants in the first place. You're the governor of a state.
Right, 10 upon 10, baby.
Making sure this money, I don't care what the federal government says, falls into the wrong hands. And he is not, I don't think he's acquitting himself. I think he's in a very difficult position where he just really screwed up and there's not a lot he can do to say for it. But I also...
But Minnesota wasn't the only state dealing with fraud. This is a massive, feeding our future was a massive issue, but it wasn't...
Thanks for joining in, like and subscribe. Appreciate it.
Well, that I agree with.
Blame every state and every Republican governor that has fraud under their watch.
And they should face the consequences too, but I bet we're going to find out a lot of blue states. Blue.
Yep, stop voting blue no matter who.
Confidence that a peace deal to end the Russia-Ukraine war.
Well, there's another thorny issue as well back here at home in the United States. We've been telling you about this Minnesota fraud scheme. They took all this COVID money and just wasted it. Politicians knew about it. There was no real investigation. They went after the whistleblowers. It was billions and billions of dollars. Many in the Somali community and political, leaders didn't want to criticize what was going on because they didn't want to affect that community. Well, Kash Patel is taking it a step further, saying that they have found that there's another $250 million that are part of the fraud scheme. And he says that it's the tip of the iceberg. This is what he said in the full statement. Even before the public conversation escalated online, the FBI had certain personnel investigating resources to Minnesota to dismantle the large-scale fraud schemes, exploiting federal programs. Fraud that steals from taxpayers and robs vulnerable children will remain a top priority for the FBI in Minnesota and nationwide. To the day, the FBI believes that this is just the tip of the very large iceberg. Reaction to that?
Well, I'm still hung up on the fact that you had the U.S. Assistant Attorney John Thompson last month talk about these two individuals who had heard that Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services Program was such easy money that they traveled to Minnesota, enrolled their companies in the program, returned to Philly, and then submitted the fraudulent claims from Philadelphia. So it was so easy that it encouraged this fraud tourism. He said that there are possibly 14 high-risk Medicaid programs that are being audited, and up to half of that amount of money, so $9 billion we're talking about here, could potentially have been fraudulent. So, Kash Patel and all these guys, they've got a lot of work cut out for them because I think this is going to be huge.
Oh, it already is, and it's going to get bigger. I think that's clear. And the point that you just made, Lisa, I think is such a key one because it was so bad in Minnesota that it became this tourist attraction. Basically, hey, if you want to come steal from taxpayers, come to Minnesota because it's very easy to do it there. And the question is, will taxpayers in that state look at all this and say this is unacceptable? Because it's not just waste, fraud, and abuse. It's all of that. It is robbing people. People work very hard for their money. They give to the government in a place like Minnesota because they say, we're nice and we're empathetic and we want to help people. If that money is being stolen to the tune of billions, that is money that people have worked so hard for, given to the government, confiscated by the government, and for what? To enrich a bunch of thieves? many of whom are not from the United States in the first place. It's outrageous.
That's the main point.
Thanks for joining in, Big Rick. Appreciate you joining in.
In other microscope because of this. He released this statement. He said, the governor has worked for years to crack down on fraud. He has strengthened oversight, including launching investigations into the specific facilities, one of which was already closed. He has hired an outside firm.
Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that.
Shut down the
Thank
housing
you.
stabilization services program, announced a new statewide program, integrity director, and supported criminal prosecution. But he went after the whistleblowers. I know. That's the problem. The people that were screaming about this, they went after, and this guy was almost the vice president of the United States. The media was tipped off about this story. There was no.
Appreciate you guys subscribing. Thank you.
He's such a liar. Also, I mean, his
Trying to get it up there.
basically turned into like the Disney World of fraud. To your point of like attracting this tourism as well. I also had interviewed former prosecutor Joe Tarab, who worked on the Feeding Our Future case. And he said that this was so easy to do, he could have done it on his computer in 5 minutes. And he had absolutely no conscience. That's how easy this was to do. And I'll just remind everyone, remember during the Big Beautiful Bill, and Democrats were just absolutely refusing any sort of changes to Medicaid.
Right.
And Republicans...
They call it a cut.
Yeah, Republicans were trying to make sure that Medicaid and welfare went into the hands of people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
Not like what's happening in Minnesota, people who need it. And they also try to cut down on illegal aliens being able to obtain some of these welfare programs. And what did Democrats do? They lost their minds.
That's what they call it, cut. No, it's just reform.
Yeah, he's definitely a dope. Almost had up in vice president.
On a vast scale. Unfortunately, it is happening. It's not just Minnesota, believe me. It's a lot of places. And now you've got, young citizen journalists going door to door.
Upon Tim and his spirit
so-called
fingers.
child care centers saying, hello, are there any children here at all? Can we see one child? And the answer over and over again, there's the video right there, Nick Shirley. And he did yeoman's work here, asking very basic questions. And my question in response to this video, you can see it on X, it's a long expose. If there are any children, they are nowhere to be seen. And if this guy can do this kind of work, where are the state investigators? Where is the local media in Minneapolis or in the state of Minnesota? And it's such a bad look. And for the governor to say, we're very strongly looking into this, and I'm going to have an outside auditor. We already know that billions have been stolen, and all he can do is downplay, and occasionally race bait as well. It's all he's got.
Voters don't like it.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click.
Somalia, which is barely a country, they have no anything. They just
Mr. President.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you.
The FBI says it has sent more officers and investigators to Minnesota. This is because of large fraud cases linked to government aid programs, but the probe has now collided with immigration action and sharp attacks on Minnesota's Somali community. FBI Director Kash Patel says the Bureau has surged staff and resources to Minnesota. He says this move happened even before the issue went viral on social media. The FBI is looking at multiple fraud cases involving federal money meant for children, housing, healthcare, and social services. Kash Patel says investigators believe what they have found so far is only a small part of a much bigger problem. The FBI says the investigation is still active. The most well-known case is called Feeding Our Future. Prosecutors say the group took advantage of COVID-era food aid meant for children. The amount involved is around $250 million. So far, 78 people have been charged, 57 people have been convicted, 2 leaders were found guilty in court earlier this year, and another person has pleaded guilty. Prosecutors say the scheme worked by billing the government for meals that were never served. There was also a separate case where defendants are accused of trying to bribe a juror with cash. Authorities say this was not just one program. They are also looking at daycare centers accused of overcharging childcare programs, disability housing programs that billed Medicaid for services not provided, and a housing support program for seniors and people with disabilities that was shut down earlier this year. Officials say a common pattern keeps coming up. Government money was claimed, but the service did not actually happen. The issue exploded online after a video posted by independent journalist Nick Shirley. The video showed a daycare center in Minneapolis that received millions in public money. But when the journalist visited, there were no children in sight. The building appeared closed. The video spread fast. Republican leaders shared it. Vice President J.D. Vance reposted it, hailing Nick's journalistic efforts. Lawmakers demanded answers from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The FBI says it was already investigating before the video went viral. Many people charged in the Minnesota fraud cases are of Somali descent. That fact has now become central to the political fight. Federal prosecutors say the charges are about fraud, but civil rights groups say the focus has shifted from crime to community. They argue a small group of suspects is being used to paint an entire population as suspect. President Donald Trump has repeatedly linked the fraud cases to Minnesota's Somali population. He has called the state a hub of fraud and has attacked Somali immigrants in public remarks. He has used harsh language and blamed state leaders for allowing the problem.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, that is a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying
I would be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars, I hope. But what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in. And you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota.
Trump has also ended temporary protected status for Somali immigrants. That program covered about 700 people. He has backed increased immigration enforcement in Minnesota. Federal immigration officers have increased activity in the Twin Cities. Officials say the focus is on people with final deportation orders. Community leaders say fear has spread well beyond that group.
There have been multiple reports in community of immigration enforcement in different parts of the city. There's a lot of fear that people have, even individuals who were born in the United States and people who are naturalized U.S. citizens.
Reports describe masked officers, street stops, and confusion. Some U.S. citizens say they were questioned. The Department of Homeland Security says enforcement is based on legal status, not race. Governor Tim Walz says fraud undermines trust and must be prosecuted, but he says blaming immigrants is not a solution. State officials say they have closed high-risk programs, launched audits, hired outside firms to review payments, strengthened oversight, supported criminal prosecutions. Walz says anyone committing fraud will face jail no matter who they are.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy. When you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. So I would fully expect, and we are preparing for an influx of more agents, more of the very visible public theatrics of the raids, of the harassments. And you got faith leaders here. I would not put it past this administration to target midnight mass services amongst folks going to worship, because that's who they are.
Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the United States. Around 80,000 people live in the state. Community leaders say most are citizens or legal residents. They say only a small fraction are tied to fraud cases. Many say they feel targeted and used as political scapegoats. Mosques and advocacy groups report hate mail. Some families say they are afraid to go out. At the same time, local officials and residents have shown public support.
We are here to respond to a number of credible reports from several media outlets relaying that there are as many as 100 federal agents that will be deployed to the Twin Cities with a specific focus on targeting our Somali community. To our Somali community, we love you and we stand with you. That commitment is rock solid. Minneapolis is proud to be home to the largest Somali community in the entire country. They've been here for decades.
Somalis began arriving in Minnesota in large numbers after Somalia collapsed in the Civil War in the 1990s. They came as refugees, found jobs, built businesses, and raised families. Over time, the community grew through family ties and job networks. Today, Somali Minnesotans work across healthcare, education, transport, retail, and public service. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who is Somali American, has also been targeted by the president. Trump has insulted her publicly and linked her to the fraud debate.
They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota. Okay, Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Walz he should be ashamed.
Omar denies any wrongdoing. She says no evidence shows community-wide fraud or terror links, and says an entire group should not be blamed for the actions of a few. Omar has also accused immigration agents of detaining her constituents and questioning her family.
President has always had very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic comments when it comes to, people who are of Muslim faith or people who are Black. We've seen him call African nations as shitholes, and so it's not really surprising. But what is weird to me is just how creepy he's been obsessed with me and the Somali community.
Immigration enforcement is increasing. Political attacks are growing louder, and community leaders warn that words can turn into fear or worse.
I know cheese. Right, they think somebody's a country who been for 30 years, all of a sudden it's a country to them. That's crazy.
An alleged Minnesota billion-dollar fraud scandal has ignited massive backlash against.
And America's a Christian country. They still, represent Muslims.
Shocking waste in state-funded
I respect it what they
democratic
believe in, but this is a Christian country.
Minnesota's governor is now under intense fire over an alleged $110 million fraud scheme targeting childcare and healthcare services, with critics demanding immediate accountability for taxpayer dollars vanishing into thin air. A viral YouTube video posted on December 26th by investigative journalist Nick Shirley showed him boldly visiting several such dubious centers, uncovering operations that appeared completely ghost-like despite massive funding. One Minneapolis site featuring a misspelled sign reading Quality Learning Center absolutely stunned the internet, becoming an instant symbol of bureaucratic failure and potential criminality in plain sight. This so-called Quality Learning Center alone reportedly received a staggering $4 million in precious taxpayer funds to supposedly serve vulnerable children, raising eyebrows about where the money truly went. Footage captured by Shirley revealed absolutely no visible activity or children present, despite the center being officially registered and heavily funded to accommodate up to 99 young students daily. Another explosive segment showed Shirley visiting a nondescript building officially listed as housing 14 separate healthcare companies, all supposedly providing essential services to the community.
Has Christian
Footage, none of these companies appeared remotely operational or staffed before police suddenly arrived and escorted him forcefully from the premises amid growing suspicions.
And God we trust on the dollar.
In the wake of this mega-viral video storm captivating millions online, Republicans are forcefully demanding that Walz be held fully accountable for the systemic failures on his watch. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance directly addressed the explosive scandal during public remarks, although he strategically did not name the Quality Learning Center while calling for federal intervention. The FBI chief also publicly acknowledged the escalating row, revealing he had immediately dispatched a specialized team to Minnesota to aggressively tackle and investigate the widespread fraud allegations. Kash Patel said, and I quote, "FBI believes this is just the tip of a very large iceberg. We will continue to follow the money and protect children, and this investigation very much remains ongoing. Furthermore, many are also being referred to immigration officials for possible further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where eligible." Unquote. This fiery row erupts as the 2024 VP nominee desperately grapples with billions of dollars vanishing in alleged social services fraud schemes plaguing his home state under questionable management. Fraudsters allegedly robbed an eye-watering $1 billion tied to critical programs that largely involved and targeted Minnesota's Somali community, sparking investigations into ethnic networks. Reports chillingly suggest some of these fraudulent payments were slyly routed overseas through informal hawala networks, evading detection and fueling international money laundering concerns.
Well,
millions of
this guy right
funds
here
possibly ended up directly supporting Al-Shabaab, the Somalia-based Al-Qaeda-linked terror group notorious for bombings and insurgent violence across East Africa. Walz and Minnesota authorities now face accusations of overseeing what critics brand as the largest fraud in U.S. history, dwarfing even federal scandals in scale and audacity. Amid this perfect storm of scandal, Ilhan Omar, Democrat Minnesota, finds herself once again under withering fire, this time because her husband Tim Minnett's business dealings raise serious questions. According to her latest financial disclosure filed
Thanks for
in May,
joining in.
the couple's
Like
net
and
worth
subscribe.
skyrocketed an unbelievable 3,500% in just 1 year,
Happy Monday.
transforming their finances overnight per explosive, New York Post reporting. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar went from being nearly broke with minimal assets to suddenly being worth up to an astonishing $30 million in just one explosive year, according to explosive investigative reporting by the New York Post that has stunned political observers nationwide. Han Omar controversially backed Somalia over breakaway Somaliland as Minnesota probes dramatically widen into the alleged mass fraud now consuming state government programs. One sharp analyst argued this corruption scandal allegedly involving Somali communities in Minnesota unfolded right under Omar's watchful eye in her own congressional district. Up to a staggering $9 billion Somali-linked fraud scam allegedly unfolded unnoticed in Omar's district, with federal investigators now tracing funds back to pandemic-era abuses. The Somalia-born Omar stands linked to a scandal-plagued restaurant after damning video resurfaced amid what may be the biggest pandemic fraud case ever uncovered in Minnesota. Omar's controversial 2020 Meals Act allegedly eased critical oversight requirements, letting fraudsters brazenly claim millions for non-existent fake meals while pocketing the cash, critics charge. After the massive fraud scheme unraveled publicly, Omar's husband Tim Minett swiftly launched his Rose Lake Capital venture capital firm back in 2022, timing the
Yes, true. They shouldn't. Especially right there with all the ideas, all the information. They shouldn't do it.
The sprawling Omar adjacent network
I think there's a bill being made for that, right? To stop it.
Connections to the fraud web. Minett's previously failed California winery astonishingly jumped 9,900% in declared value, hitting between $1 to $5 million, right after the fraud claims exploded into national headlines.
I'm gonna go ahead and end it with this, you guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and get to my wife and the kids. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Happy Monday. I'll be back.